morning, everybody from Africa and also from Mauritius. I would like to welcome Johan Klang, who is currently based in Lusaka. He's the general manager of Radisson Blue Hotel in Lusaka, a hotel which I know very, very well, which has been up and running for quite a number of years. If I'm not mistaken, it's literally opposite the Arcades shopping center. There are 3 shopping centers near Radisson Blue, so I know that Radisson Blue very well. Welcome, Johan. Good to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Johan, I mean, you've been with Radisson for more than 10 years, 11 years, if I'm not mistaken. You've also been hopping around Africa, 3 to 4 countries, including Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and
Yes.
Zambia.
Yes, that's quite correct.
And you've been in Lusaka for almost a year and a half. So I love Lusaka, by the way. I always enjoy traveling to Lusaka. I love Zambia. Great.
Well,
food.
once these interesting times are over, we're very welcome back.
Absolutely look forward to that. Johan, you're going to basically take us through your presentation, just a snapshot of the hotel industry or hotel sector in Lusaka. And then at the end of your presentation, I'll have a couple of questions for you, basically. So I'll leave it to you to start your presentation, Johan. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you. So what I've prepared is a brief historical presentation showing the development of upscale international hotels in Lusaka and some of the effects of that. So this first slide kind of shows the last 4 years from 2016 to 19. So we see that in 2016, we had 4 hotels and 713 keys. Let me repeat that it's the upscale brands and the international brands. I have not included the smaller boutique hotels, some of which are definitely upscale, or even some of the lodges, them again, upscale or even upper upscale. As we move along, we can see then that in 2017, Intercontinental started its full renovation by closing one of its wings, thus going down in the number of keys. In 2018, we had 2 hotels open, the Garden Inn by Hilton on Cairo Road, so downtown, and the Sarawak Premier Hotel, 82 keys, on the Great East Road, not very far from the Radisson Blue Hotel. By 2018, Southern Sun had also started its full renovation. Then by 2019, we are up at 6 hotels with 792 keys, and Southern Sun having completed its full renovation. So even now we can see that from 16 to 19, 2 new hotels on the market, a development of the number of keys. And as we move forward now to the next slide, we'll see what's happening 2020 and then 2021. So during 2020, Intercontinental closed for a full, complete renovation. This is not a cause of the corona situation. This was planned by them. So with them closed, we were down to 5 open hotels right now. And then by the end of this year, we will have 2 more opened. That will be the Bonanza property, located not far from the airport, with 241 keys. This is a resort as well as a hotel with a very large and fantastic golf course next to it, and a very large congress center that, to the best of my knowledge, can take over 1,000 seats when in operation. And then you have the Holiday Inn Hotel opening at the Intercontinental property. If you remember the slide before, I mentioned that they had closed 1 wing. So 1 wing will be reopening already this year as a Holiday Inn, and then next year as an Intercontinental. So if we move forward to 2021, there are 3 hotels opening. There's the Intercontinental, which will be an all-suite Intercontinental, fully renovated and gutted. Park Inn by Radisson, 130 keys, and then Hilton Curio, 82 keys. Now, should all these openings open by December 21, we will have had 10 hotels and 1,441 keys. So a doubling of the number of keys at the international upscale segment available on the market. So a substantial growth, a strong growth compared to where we started in 2016. Moving forward to the next slide, you can there see a little bit of what is being built right now. So as mentioned, you have the Bonanza property. You have the Holiday located at the Intercontinental property. You have the Intercontinental, which will open as an all-suite hotel. You have the Park Inn by Radisson, and you have the Hilton Curio. Just to give you more information, there are another 5 upscale hotels on the books. To the best of my knowledge, none of these will be opening before 2022. Some of them have yet even to have groundbreaking. But as you can see, they're quite large hotels. 3 properties by Hilton, the DoubleTree with 230, the Hilton 153, Hampton by Hilton 102. You have a Rotana property at 150 keys, and then a Mövenpick with 350 keys. So again, if these hotels should open, let's say by 2025, we have again increased number of hotels and keys by nearly 50%. So the availability of rooms and hotels on the market is substantially increasing. Now, if historically, how has this kind of affected the market? So these are comp set comparisons. So as you can see, the comp set occupancy between 16 and 19 have actually decreased. And although the average house rate in local currency, in local kwacha, has increased from 16 to 19, the dollar rate itself has affected stuff. So in reality, in dollars, the comp set has decreased with a little over of $30. Coupled with that, let's look at some airport arrivals to Kennecound International Airport. Yes, there has been increases compared to 2016 to 17 to 18, but in 19, there's a slight decrease. Of course, 2020 is not going to be a number we can use for adequate comparisons, but unfortunately, the trend is very low growth of arrivals to Lusaka, but an extreme growth of available hotel rooms. That is the short version of my presentation. So if you have any questions.
Thanks, Johan. I will come back to some of the slides that you've put together. Can you give us, for somebody who doesn't know Lusaka, can you give us, the perspective of the hotel sector in Lusaka? Is it more corporate? Is it leisure? Is it transit business, domestic, international, regional?
Lusaka tends to be heavily dependent on business, coupled with a lot of local training. So Radisson Blu, we ourselves have a high reliance on international travels and international arrivals, mainly from Southern Africa, but also then from Europe, North America, and Asia, Middle East as well, of course. Other hotels in the city offer rooms and meeting facilities for the local market, and then a lot of visitors to the city who tend to be there for business rather than tourism. Now, we were having this discussion on, for example, Victoria Falls, Livingston. Those are tourism destinations, and we have a lot of high quality, high end lodges around the country, which serve an international upper end safari market. But these people very rarely come to Lusaka, and if they do, it's one night only, because they need to catch up on their sleep either before or after their safari, and then the next day they're on their way to the airport.
So when you talk about the corporate business, I mean, you've mentioned various countries and various destinations. Just give us a sense of what are the main airlines feeding into Lusaka International Airport here?
Let me give you a brief picture of what was there in January and February, and then we can have a meeting in a year or two and see what happened. So in January and February, you had South African Airlines flying 3 times a day from Johannesburg. You had Airlink also flying 1 time a day from Johannesburg. Then you had Turkish Airlines, I think it was 3 or 4 times a week. You had Emirates 3 or 4 times a week. Kenya daily to Nairobi, of course. You had Rwanda Air, Malawi Air, flying regionally, both up to places like Kigali, Nairobi, the Lungwe, but also have the African regional airlines having then stop off. So they would do several routes. So they would land here before going onwards to Johannesburg and vice versa. Those are the flights or airlines that we had in January, February. There are always rumors that there's European airline coming in, but that rumor has yet to develop. The last European airline was KLM, and I think they left 4 years ago now.
And as we speak currently, the international airport, is it open, reopen, or
Kennecound Airport has remained open all through the epidemic. Ethiopian Airlines has been flying all through the epidemic, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a week. These last 4 weeks, we have seen Kenya Airlines and Rwanda Airlines start flying, not daily, and the schedule is a bit flexible with some flights being cancelled on every once in a while. The hope is, of course, that the European, North American vacations will end in September, and then people will start picking up their business travel. Of course, there's always the business confidence or the travel confidence. Do I want to travel? Does my company allow me to travel? So even if visas are being issued just as pre-COVID times, there's no self-isolation to come to the country, although you have to show negative certificates. It's a matter of confidence and company policies that I think is affecting the whole thing.
Yeah. And Johan, can we go back? Can we go to your second slide? Yeah, where you talk about the number of hotels, existing hotels, which is your next slide. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So if you look at 2019, which is interesting, you're talking about almost 800 keys, 6 hotels, branded, international branded hotels. Some of the hotels, I know them personally, you know, they've been there for many years, probably more than 20 years. For example, you know, the Intercom, the Pomorzi, the Southern Sun were legacy hotels back in the early 2000s. You know, if somebody flew into Lusaka back then, you pretty much had a choice of those 3. So when you look at the current number of hotels, excluding the new hotels that are under construction or meant to be opening up over the course of the year and next year, already I get a feel based on the occupancy, there's already kind of an oversupply. So the question I have for you here is, assuming the new hotels are going to open on time, 2020, 2021, what does it mean? Is there going to be kind of a price war? I mean, how would hoteliers survive in this environment?
I suppose that's a $10,000 question. A price war will probably happen among some hotels. Others, I think, will try to keep a strong house rate as they've always done, and hope that the brand recognition, brand name for the international visitors is something that will attract them. the only hope is that the country will recover after COVID and after the elections of 2021, so that confidence in coming to Zambia to do business in Zambia increases. The tourism board is working hard to increase tourism, and hopefully that will give a effect and a feedback towards the business hotels here in the city, as more and more people might want to stay in Lusaka or need to overnight in Lusaka. I always confused, or not confused, I'm always thinking that Lusaka, located where it is in the middle of southern Africa, a 4-hour flight from Lusaka will get you nearly to Addis, will cover Cameroon, all of Congo, of course, and all the way down to Cape Town. The city could actually be such a strong hub for an airline, or even then for large events. And the new Congress Center that's being built quite next door to us, actually, at the old Mulangushu Center, might have the potential of becoming that attraction or that destination, so that we might get larger events, thus filling most of our hotels or parts of our hotels. And if we can have 3 or 4 of these every year, that might be one solution, but that, I'm afraid, is not until late 22 or 23.
So that's obviously, it's a time factor of, hopefully that goes ahead. That's going to bring some kind of dynamics to Lusaka, to the airport, in terms of number of arrivals, and also to the hotel industry.
The airport is new. They've built a complete new airport arrival terminal and departure terminal. That is due to be open end of this year. The Mulangushu Center is the host to the 2022 African Union event. So that is most probably going to open on time. So the infrastructure seems to be there. We've got the hotels, we've got a large conference center, we have an airport. The question is how to encourage guests to arrive.
And if I may, if you could move to your next slide, where you've got the pipeline of new hotels coming to stream.
This one or this one?
The next one, yeah.
Oops, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. So if I look at all these brands that are coming up and opening up, how would, you've also mentioned there are local brands, or guest houses or hotels in the country. How would they cope with international brands? How do you think that's going to evolve?
Well, you've got call it the mid-scale section, if you want, the Proteas, the Stay Easy, some of the more budget or economy hotels that are built along to international standards, and they are fairly good at renovating and keeping up their standards. So they, I think, will survive. The question is the lower end local market. If there is a price war and all the larger international hotels reduce prices, then the midsection would have to reduce prices, and then a knock-on going downwards. And the question is, if I am a client, a guest, and I can get a room for the same price I normally pay at a better hotel, I'll most likely do that. Thus, maybe the private houses doing Airbnb, the small lodges, they might be the ones who will suffer greatly if they cannot afford to deliver better services, renovate their properties much higher, etc. I hope there isn't going to be a massive price war, because I think we will only kill the whole market. Compared to some of my other destinations, and where I've worked, and compared to the other key cities in Africa, we already right now in Lusaka have quite a low rate.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can say, having been to Lusaka many times and over many years, I think the slide where you had the rates in dollars, could demonstrate basically that the dollar value has gone down. Obviously, the kwacha has devalued quite significantly. I remember the kwacha being 5 to the dollar. That was just pre 2010 ish. So in that kind of environment where the currency is depreciating every year, as a hotelier, I would assume most of your clients are paying in dollar because they're corporate clients, yeah?
For me, yes, and I presume for the other upscale hotels, as mentioned, it is dollar payments. Of course, being international guests, local guests would always be paying in kwacha. So for us, at least, dollar is a key component. And if we quote in dollars rather than in kwacha, then we might have an advantage in the sense that the international guest is so used to thinking in dollars. And $100 for them is $100, regardless if they are in Lusaka or Nairobi.
Absolutely, absolutely. Which, if you could go back to your next slide where you talk about the rates, or I've got one or two questions around that. Yeah. So in that kind of environment where obviously, if you look at the concept, you were at $127 in 2016, and obviously in 2019 it's $95. I mean, if you compare the AHR in 2009, it's probably on the continent. It's probably one of the lowest, nothing comparable to Lagos, to Accra, or even, I would assume, even some countries in East Africa. So it must be one of the lowest AHR, yeah, on the continent.
I haven't actually sat down and compared city by city, but my historical knowledge tells me 95 is low. Other hotels I've worked, we would hardly ever offer anything under 100, and if we offered 100, it would have been for large groups or something. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see how this will evolve, because obviously the currency is under pressure as we speak. The mining sector also is also under pressure, economically. So the currency will face further downward pressure eventually. I would assume if your revenue is in dollar, your cost base is in local currency, in a way you're able to manage that from a P&L perspective. But let's say, Johan, let's talk about your hotel. Yeah, can you give us a flavor of how many rooms you've got, conference facilities, and also how has it been for you during this COVID period?
Okay. Well, the hotel has 142 rooms, and as you mentioned in the beginning of your speech, it opened 2012. So we are slowly but surely coming up to year 9. We were looking to have a good 2020. January and February and the beginning of March, I was rubbing my hands with glee, and I was boasting to my bosses, I'm going to beat budget, etc. And then, of course, all this happened. With the owners, sorry?
I'm saying that you're rubbing your hands with sanitizers, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely with sanitizers. See, have one by my desk. Where was I? Oh, yes. So together with the owners and Radisson regional head office, we had discussions, and we decided that we could keep open. We wouldn't do a soft closing as some other hotels in the city and other countries have done. And that has had a negative effect on revenue, of course. We were down to 3% occupancy in April. And since then, our occupancy has been going up and down, but never over 10%. August doesn't look that good either. September is so difficult, and October and November to forecast. It really depends on as I said before, confidence in travel. There is a need in the market because we are getting requests. So should confidence change or increase, we expect to see a lot of bookings as people try to catch up on missed opportunities and missed deadlines. So should confidence change, Q4 might be very, very good, but it will in no way be able to meet all the negatives that we've had for the Q2 and Q3.
And Johan, I mean, what about the domestic market? How deep is it? Is there anything that you can do as a hotelier to tap on the local market?
Well, we have certainly changed our tactics and strategy. We are more flexible in giving local prices rather than US dollars. We are working with the authorities so that we are able to host meetings for companies and events, as long as all the social distancing rules and regulations are followed. And then we've got the certificates and the permissions needed. We share those with our clients. And when we have clients who are able to have events, we make sure that they're taken care of. But it is maybe 15% in the market of what we usually did. So it's one room every once in a while for meeting and events, not all 8 fully booked, as was my experience from Q3 and Q4 last year.
So which means that basically Lusaka is a market which is heavily reliant on international travelers.
Well, definitely Radisson Blu and the other top hotels, yes. The Proteas, the Stay Easy, and all these others are more dependent on the local market, but even they themselves would get international business. The thing is, a lot of the travel and business is reliant upon international, shall I say, money or funding. So a lot of the training we had and meeting and events we had last year were aid agencies. And that nowadays they aren't spending the money. The few that are spending money of the aid agency, it's a lot of hygiene training, anti or COVID protection training and things like that. But training on other projects seems to have all dried up.
Yeah, indeed. So let's keep fingers crossed, and hopefully but before the end of the year, things get slightly better, at least for 2021.
Yes, please.
Things get even better. Let's talk slightly about protocols. Yeah, what have you changed, or are you planning to change in terms of health and safety at your hotel, at your property? And how much is that coming from head office, from Radisson Blu sort of design protocols?
Okay. Radisson Blu head office very quickly and early on came out with a set of guidelines and rules, which we call the 20-point promise and the 10-point promise. And this explains to the guests different things we're doing. So what we've done from an organizational point of view within the hotel, we have identified, for example, high touch point areas. And we've worked to either take them away, minimize them, or increase cleaning for them. One example is the remote control in the hotel room. So every time a guest checks out, we put on a new plastic covering on the remote control, so that every guest will be assured that he or she is the only one who's touched it. We're lucky we're not a hotel that has many floors, so we've actually closed the elevators, because elevators, high touch point areas or high frequency areas. But banisters on stairs, which we used to clean maybe once or twice a day, is now being cleaned 4 or 5 times a day. Coupled to this, training, and even more training. New SOPs. How do we use the different sanitizers or detergents or cleaning materials? We make sure the staff are trained on this. And then together with the international auditing firm SGS, we've done a full desktop audit, which we have passed. And in 2 weeks' time, we're getting a 1-day full physical audit, which they're going to go and check everything from our training documentations, our SOPs, to physically checking rooms, taking swabs, using UV spray to check if the staff actually do clean things like telephones and headboards, bathrooms, etc., etc., etc. So it's been quite an intensive review of all hygiene practices. And I'm confident we will pass it in 2 weeks' time. But it's been, even after all my years in the hotel industry, it's been quite a learning experience of some of the things which could be improved so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about these protocols, do you, in the local market, do you exchange ideas with your peers, whether it's Intercon or any other international hotels? Checking out what they are doing.
The international hotels here in Lusaka informally meet every once in a while and have a chat. Some of us call each other up on the phone, ask ideas, or how did you try to solve that, or what's your thinking on this. At the same time, the Zambian Tourism Agency has also put down a number of recommendations of what hotels and lodges should be doing for guests and so on.
So that's great to hear. At least, in tough times, solidarity, and we need to sort of speak to each other and hopefully rebuild and relaunch the hospitality industry and the travel industry. Surely it's going to come back, but it's going to take time, but we'll make it happen. Johan, that has been great to have you on this call. Great for you to give us a picture of what's been happening in the Lusaka market. I mean, clearly the numbers that you've presented really helps to give us a good understanding of the existing stock of rooms, and then also new rooms coming to market, and also the pressure on rates, obviously, and hopefully there will be some stability in the market eventually, because I would assume at some point in time, a developer of a new hotel would think probably twice or thrice, given the structure of the market, the potential oversupply of rooms, and the rates, the pressure on the rates as well. Johan, like I said to you, Lusaka is a place I've always enjoyed. I look forward, once the borders are open, look forward to come and see you in and stay at your hotel.
You're very welcome.
Knowing that you've got the best safety protocol, and I love the property anyway, and hope to see you one of these days by the end of the year. Thank you very much, Johan. If you've got any parting words on your side, please go ahead.
Thank you for this opportunity to share, and should you or any of your partners who see this slide have any questions, please reach out. I'll be happy to give further details of what I can give, of course, on what I think is happening here in Lusaka.
Thank you very much, Johan. Thank you, and thanks for everybody for watching, and stay tuned for the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.